edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU.
Hello, we are back again for another Cheers to Careers podcast. We have Dayton Hamas, KU grad. She's the Director of Social Media, NIL, and Student Athlete Branding at Illinois State. Welcome, Dayton.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Dayton, I know the time I met with you at KU, the J School, you definitely had a love for sports and communications, and it seems like right now you're kind of have combined those two passions. How's everything going in this role?
Yeah, it's been great. I've loved my time here at Illinois State. I mean, that's kind of why I've stuck around all of these years here. But it's been fun to see how the industry's changed over the years, and as I find more of my passions in the communication space, kind of get more specific into them.
And I know you went to Illinois State originally for grad school. Did you have plans on staying there as a full-time staff member, or how did that develop?
No, I was never necessarily in the plans to stay at ISU after grad school. Um, I was planning to just go get the 2 years of experience, get the master's degree, and then find another job in college sports. I didn't know how many opportunities you had at Illinois State to stay on full time. If you look at our staff directory, I would say well over half the people on the staff directory got some form of degree from Illinois State. So it's a really special community and a really great opportunity. Once you come here, a lot of people just fall in love and never want to leave. So
And looking at your job title, I mean, it is a fascinating time in sports to be involved with social media, NIL. I mean, NIL has only been around, what, 2 or 3 years, and then brand management. I mean, that sounds like a job that was kind of meant for you.
hmm yeah, I was really lucky when I came back to Illinois State full time in 2021. I came back as a SID, so I worked in communications, but I came back with the understanding that this type of role would be created. And the administration at the time, held their promise, and we worked together to write the job description and create the role because they saw the value of having somebody leading our social media efforts and then helping our student athletes succeed on the branding side of the NIL world.
In your master's degree, sports
Sport,
management.
sport management, yep.
So, what about NIL? I mean, are you learning as you go? I mean, it seems like it's always kind of changing the dynamics. I mean, what kind of role does it play there at Illinois State?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. So NIL started in July of 2021. We kind of got our program off the ground in July of 2022. So it was me, and we have two roles that work on NIL here at Illinois State. We have a director of NIL and community engagement, and then myself. So I worked with the person that was in that role at the time to kind of launch our program, which is called Visualize. And then we've worked on education, whether that be financial education, student athlete branding, different things like that. Work together to create a collective that supports all 19 of our varsity sports, which is something really unique in that no one else in our conference, at least when we started it, that could have changed now, but had a collective that supported all of their sports. There were some that were just for football or just for men's basketball, but that's something we're really proud of here at Illinois State is that we do support all 19 of our varsity sports through the collective. Um, what else? We did a partnership with the School of Communications and the School of Business here at Illinois State, where we would match a student with a student athlete to kind of navigate the NIL space. A lot of schools do that. We kind of got the idea from Oklahoma State, who does a really good job with their brand squad. So um, it's been it's been a whirlwind. Like it's changed every single year, and it changes every single day, as I'm sure as a sports lover. But it's been exciting, and I'm lucky to be at a place that isn't scared to invest in it. We're not scared of being a mid-major. Uh, our school has embraced it from the time it started, pretty much. And we were one of the first schools, if not the first school in the NCAA, to have two people that work in NIL. So we're really proud of what we do here at Illinois State and how we're able to positively impact the student athlete experience. And hopefully those skills they learn through NIL, they're able to carry on with them to their either professional careers, whether that be on the field or off. So,
And I would think you being there at the very beginning of that, did you have a lot of say in the strategy?
yeah, it was cool. So the person that I started the but we started the department with. Her name is Maya Bolger. She's at Mississippi State now, leading their NIL efforts. She had a really interesting background where she had worked with an agency before, so she had kind of seen that side of the NIL space, and I got to kind of give my expertise on social media and branding and how we should navigate those areas of the NIL space. But it was kind of an all hands on deck thing. We were both on tons and tons of meetings with different vendors who said they were the next big thing in NIL. So it was a really cool opportunity, and it was a really fun way for me to get to interact with our student athletes. I remember the very first student athlete that I met with about NIL and how to position themselves on social media. He wanted to donate all of his NIL money to a charity in town. And I was just like, I'm so lucky that I get to work with student athletes like this. It's just the best job in the world. And I'm so grateful.
You talk a lot about, kind of your beginning in social media, and I love your LinkedIn profile. I'm going to have to use that as a model for students I interact with because you have a lot of detail. You have some metrics, which I love to see. I think you had a stat in there, like with the Missouri Valley Conference, maybe it was a couple of years ago, you had like the number one most interactions, I think, on social media. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, it could have been with ISU Redbirds or with the track and field account.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, I cannot remember, but one of the two. That's something that we really strive for is to be the best in our conference, but also to just be one of the best in the nation. I have something printed off on my little desk up here that says that we were the 11th in the nation for engagement increases for main athletics accounts, like any size school in Division One. So I was really proud of that, and that was in the first year of me being in this role. So um, it's just nice when you see the metrics and you see your hard work paying off and something like that. So getting to look at that every day is really cool.
And Dayton, can you share with us a little bit about your social media philosophy? I mean, can you kind of a quick hit? I know, like for me, I always want to make sure authentic. I think that's always number one, and then timely. I mean, what are some of your social media strategies that works for you?
Yeah, something that I wanted to make sure that I did as soon as I got into this position, where I was managing our main athletics account, is making sure that we're showcasing all of our incredible student athletes and what they're doing on and off the field of play, whatever track, sport, whatever. Um, because I know a lot of times you can get really focused on the revenue sports. Here at ISU, our revenue sports are men's basketball, women's basketball, volleyball, and football. So those are the only ones that are ticketed. But that's not to say that our women's tennis student athletes don't have incredible stories, our golfers, whoever. So that's something that's always been really important to me. I got to work with some of those Olympic sports at Kansas, and I think building relationships with those athletes really helped me see that every person has a story, and no one's going to know that story if you're not sharing it. So that's like my overarching philosophy is making sure that our fans are getting to see every one of our student athletes. But then I really focus on the individual platforms. A lot of our fans are like families and lifelong alums that live in town. So I target Facebook, ticket things like that are typically more on Facebook and Twitter, where a lot of our student population is on Instagram and TikTok. So that's the type of content that I'm moving there. But just making sure I'm focusing on our audiences and getting out the information in a timely manner. I'm pretty lucky in my role. I get to be a content creator and a strategist. So I think, some people would maybe be a little hesitant to take on both because it is, two separate jobs. It may not be like that on the job descriptions on Teamworks Online or whatever, but they are two separate jobs. But I really love it. I love getting to capture the moments behind the camera or behind the phone, and then getting to find creative ways to create copy for those and share that out with our audiences.
You talk about content creation and taking photos, and I know you shared some great
Mhm.
photos with us for this podcast with you, um, with the camera. Now, did you kind of learn as you go with the photography, or are you kind of a naturally trained photographer?
And I'm definitely self-taught. I started a little bit at Kansas, working under Josh Carson with track and field and cross country there. That's kind of where I first like picked up a camera. But I hadn't really done a ton of it until I got to ISU. Um, and I just kept getting better and better. And now that I'm in my role now, I'm on completely different equipment than I was when I started. So, um, as equipment changes, that's going to help a lot too. But just better understanding like the settings of the camera and things like that and the editing process. Um, I'm just following different creators and trying to get better every day. And I promise you, the student athletes that I worked with in year one will tell you that I'm much better now than I was their freshman year. So
It sounds like you're in a position where you have a lot of creative control. I would
mhm.
assume. I mean, how important is that? Because I'm a big believer in, kind of having that trust in the workplace where people kind of trust you to do the job. I mean, are you in a situation where you do have a lot of creative control?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm overseeing all of our sport accounts just because I'm only managing the Ice Redbirds account and a couple other various accounts that we have. I do play a big impact in the content that goes out on those sport accounts. I'm at myself or my graduate assistant or one of the interns that we have. We're at every single event in some capacity, at least for one of the 2 days if it's a multi-day event. Um, so we're there and we're helping curate the content that goes out on those. We're working really closely with our SIDs to help them, develop captions. And um, I even have to jump in and live tweet for different accounts every now and then too, whenever we're short-staffed in one area. So I have quite a bit to say. Working here as a communications GA, a lot of the communications staff, at least full-time staff, was here whenever I was a GA, or they're now the full-time staff were GAs while I was a GA. So um, it's been cool. I have really great relationships with them and we just trust each other and it's been really special.
And Dayton, when you were at KU, did you know what you did want to do professionally, or did that kind of develop during your time at KU?
Yeah, I actually had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to work in sports. And my involvement in KU athletics is kind of interesting. I was in a sorority while I was at Kansas. I was an Alpha Delta Pi, and one of the older upperclassmen, who was also a J school student, Erin Meyer, uh, she would post all these cool things that she was getting to do with her internship at Kansas Athletics, and I was always liking and commenting that on them. And she finally, not finally, she messaged me on Facebook at the time and was like, "Do you want to do this? Like, you seem like you're so into it." And I was like, "Yeah, I would love. I don't know what this is, but um, I wanna learn more." So I had the opportunity. I got to go interview spring of my freshman year with Todd Kober, who was the head of the comms department at the time, and um, he said, "I don't normally hire people this young, but I see you have a lot of potential." And I'm so glad that he took that chance and gave me that opportunity. And I'm still in contact with him to this day, one of my greatest mentors.
Do you kind of consider that your first professional break? I mean, I know a lot of times it's timing's everything and finding those right people to connect with. I mean, was that kind of your first big
Yeah,
breakout with athletics?
yeah, definitely. And like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do in sports, so I was doing a little bit of everything. I did communications, obviously, to start with Todd. Um, but I did a year, I think it was my junior year, where I crossed over and I was working in the facilities and events department and as a comms intern at the same time because I was like, what if I like facilities and events? Like you don't know at the time. You're not that old. So I did both and I only did the one year of the facilities and events and figured out I much more enjoyed the writing and the opportunities I had in communications. But I'm still really grateful for the facilities and events experience and the connections I made there.
And I know you've touched a lot on kind of what you did at KU. I was always impressed by your time management skills. I mean, student, working for Kansas Athletics, sorority, and I think you're even involved with what the student alumni network. Um,
Yeah,
how did
I
you
was.
how did you manage all that?
Yeah, I think I was so used. I commuted 40 minutes one way to high school. So I think I was so used to like being go, go, go for like 12 hours a day, that I think I would have been bored if I wasn't doing something at all hours of the day. So yeah, I had a lot of great opportunities at Kansas. I mean, that's how I met so many of my friends. I did the big event, Student Alumni Leadership Board, Alpha Delta Pi, Kansas Athletics. Um, I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting even, but it was just you prioritize what things that matter to you, and each of those things that I mentioned are so important to me, and I still have relationships with the people that I was a part of those organizations with. So obviously Kansas Athletics ended up taking up a little bit of my more of my time towards the end there. But that's when I realized that I wanted to make this so serious and wanted to move on and have a career in college athletics.
And you just mentioned commuting there during your high school time, and you are from the Columbia, Missouri area. Columbia
Mhm.
to Lawrence. How does that happen?
Yeah, my dad is from Kansas City, Missouri originally, and you can kind of go either way, I guess, growing up in KC Mo, but he was a big Roy Williams fan and wasn't a fan of the coach at Mizzou at that time. So grew up a KU fan in mid-Missouri, and it was not always easy. A funny story that I always like to share is my parents went in with a bunch of other KU alums or KU fans in our area. Uh, and donated money to rename my middle school gymnasium Allen Fieldhouse for the year. So that was always it was a fun year for me as somebody who grew up around a bunch of Mizzou fans. But um, I was a proud KU fan. I wore KU shirts, and 2008 was a tough year for my classmates. So
Well, before we move on to Fast Five, kind of one last question. What advice do you have for students that are, considering pursuing like sports communications, NIL, brand management? Um, what should they be prepared to do?
yeah, they should definitely reach out to anyone in any athletic department that they're in an area that they're interested in working in. I get emails all the time from students from various schools in Illinois, either wanting me to answer questions for a class assignment or just having questions about the industry. People, 9 times out of 10, people want to help you succeed in this industry. So definitely reach out and maintain those connections that you have. I, I think this is such an interesting story too. I went to one of those networking events that the J School did every year during homecoming. I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
remember the name of it, but I'm connected with a KU alum there, and he said, I can't help you, but my coworker can, and he connected me to um, Seth Greenberg's daughter Paige, who is one of my closest mentors, who I talk to weekly. So you just never know who you're gonna get connected with, and you just have to maintain those relationships. It's just so cool. The Jayhawk network is crazy, um, and even if the person that you reach out to can't help you, like they're gonna connect you to someone that can. I tell my interns that all the time. Like if they're applying somewhere, to let me know where they're applying, because you never know which Jayhawk might might work there. So a lot of my friends from KU Athletics still work in sports to this day too, which is so cool. The network that they even have now that I can build off of too.
No, great tips, and I love that network advice because yeah, we do try to take advantage of that Jayhawk network. Okay, so now it's time for Fast Five. These are kind of tied to your KU days, your LinkedIn profile. So I know you manage a lot of social media accounts. If
Mm-hmm.
you only had one social media platform you could use, what one would that be?
Mm. I love Twitter, X, I guess now, but yeah, I would say Twitter
Twitter.
or
Okay.
X.
So you've taken a lot of photos. Or is that one photo that really stands out for you, like your favorite photo you've taken that you're kind of known for? Does that exist?
I'm trying to think.
Or maybe a type of photo? I mean, do you like the action, the portraits,
I
the
like this. I love the celebration shots.
celebration?
So volleyball, you get a lot of those great ones. But I took a one at football this year when we played at Iowa, where our four captains were walking onto the field with our mascot Reggie, and it was of their backs, and I made it black and white, and I really like that one, kind of
Nice.
like artsy.
Okay. What brand out there, like a sports individual, sports team, or business catches your attention? Is there that one brand that really does kind of resonate with you and like wish we could do more of that?
Yeah, I love the brand Together. I'm really big into women's sports, so I love seeing all the stuff that they do.
Okay. You talk about your time at KU working facilities and events, and I think one of your responsibilities was retrieving soccer and volleyballs. How
Mhm.
good were you at that?
I was much better at the soccer balls. When I was in college at the same time as Kelsey Payne, so you
Uh,
kind of have to dodge there. She was so powerful and talented. So, um, yeah, probably I was probably better at soccer, but
so you had to be quick, reflexes. I mean,
yeah, yeah, had a little more time in soccer than you did in volleyball.
and I think I see a jersey, or you had a jersey there behind you. Who's your
Mhm.
favorite hockey, either when you're growing up or during your time at KU or now?
Oh, it's so hard to pick. There's so many. Either Frank Mason, Sharon Lakady, or Kylie Kopatich.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the jersey behind you? Who's is that?
That's Kylie's jersey from
That's
when I
Kylie.
worked. Yeah, I worked with the team. So,
Nice,
um, she gave me that as a birthday gift one year.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, Dayton, hey, I appreciate your time. I know you got a busy schedule. Anytime you're working in sports communications, I know time's limited. So I always like to say cheers. Thanks for joining us, and
Cheers.
keep it up at Illinois State. Go Redbirds.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Steve.
Thanks, Dayton.
Bye.